Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. And the special guest on this broadcast is India's Army Chief General Manoj Pande, speaking to us ahead of the Indian Army Day on 15th of January. We are speaking here in Delhi, but of course we'll be speaking all about what the Indian Army is doing and will be doing in the future, in some coming years, and the plans that he has for the progress and modernization and transformation of the Indian Army. So General, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you very much.
Thank you for agreeing to speak to us. So let me begin with your plan that you unveiled in 2022, late 2022, and the whole of 2023 you had a year of transformation.
Yes.
You had declared.
Yes.
So where are we on that plan, and where has it progressed?
So thank you, Nitin, first for this opportunity to interact with you. And let me start by saying that the aim of undertaking this transformation was to make our army more modern, agile, adaptable and technology enabled, so as to be able to meet our future security challenges in a more effective manner. It also had to do with increasing efficiencies and outcomes in all domains, be it operational, administrative or the logistic domain. And if you would recall, I had identified 5 distinct pillars for this transformation roadmap. And the first was force structuring, reorganization and optimization. It largely had to do with right sizing, restructuring and rationalizing. And this spanned across all domains, that is right from the infantry to all our services elements. I wish to highlight only 3-4 things that we have done.
Sure.
And the first is the integrated battle groups. The first one we shall be rolling out very shortly as a pilot project. Thereafter, if you look at in the regiment of artillery, we are restructuring the surveillance and target acquisition units with their capability now to be able to carry out long-range surveillance, loiter munitions, etc. So they are being restructured. We also have our light regiments, erstwhile mortars. They are now getting converted into missile regiments and the like. We are raising a couple of more aviation brigades. In the field of signals or communication, we are again restructured our existing regiments into what we refer to as network signal regiments.
I see.
Also combining the electronic intelligence EW units and forming them into a more homogeneous entity. Establishing cyber support operations and wings at the command level in keeping with again the future time.
Right.
So these are some changes in the signal domain. Then it had to do with optimization or downsizing of certain legacy units, legacy establishments. The animal transport, so we are going to be replacing mules with logistic drones, all-terrain vehicles. Certain other units like the food and inspection organization, the composite food laboratories which have less relevance today, so we are doing away with them. So these were some of the areas. TAization of our pioneer units, our empty transport platoons, restructuring of the Army Education Corps. So these were some areas in terms of the first. Second was of course modernization and technology infusion, where if you look at our procurements for the last year or thereabouts, modernization is central to our capability development program. In our EP4, out of
this is emergency procurement.
Emergency procurement. Out of the 73 contracts, about 11,000 crore, largely they are all indigenous, and again have to do with niche technologies, disruptive technologies. We've done a lot of work in the field of AI, quantum, computing and 5G technology. We've set up some of these labs at MAU in collaboration with IIT Madras.
Okay.
So aim is to have disruptive and niche technologies introduced into the army.
Right.
So that was the second point. Third was to do with the reforming our systems, processes and functions, again to enhance our efficiencies. And this is something which we set it out to do it within our organization you did not need major outside help. Again here, through automation, through digitization, through networking, and outsourcing of non-core activities.
Right.
In all operational domain, in the HR management, in management infosystem domains, all this has been achieved under this third pillar.
Okay.
Fourth is the human resource management. Of course, Agnipath scheme, of which we may
We'll talk a little later. Yeah, exactly.
But besides that, enhancing officers intake, reforming our recruitment processes, our competitive exam, having them all online, restructuring, reducing the training period of our Army Cadet College Technical Entry Scheme. So these are some of the initiatives that we have taken.
Yes.
And lastly was in the field of jointness and integration, where again our systems, when operating with the other two services in the operational domain, in the logistics domains in terms of spares, certain common functions such as aviation assets, their maintenance, common SOPs, administrative issues such as common use of facilities, having our children ward go to their schools and vice versa. So here are some of the areas.
Right.
Now in all this, I must say in the last year we have made good progress.
Okay.
But it is a beginning. So we'll have to continue with this for the next 4 or 5 years. And I am confident that at the end of it, you will find our army much more, I would say, capable, modern, agile. So that is the aim.
So, it's a very comprehensive program, and the good beginning, like you already mentioned and done. What I wanted to also check with you on the terms of modernization, in terms of not just training or intake, like you mentioned. What about niche technologies or disruptive technologies for use by the forces? Because your ISR, I'm sure you've improved. Also conventional platforms. So on that front, what is the progress?
I'll start by saying that the purpose or the aim, objective here was to maximize or leverage on a very vibrant ecosystem that we have, startup ecosystem, as well as capitalize on the innovation potential available within the country.
Right.
So we are following a method wherein we are moving on 5-6 parallel tracks to exactly do what you just suggested. First is the make 1 or make 2 provisions, which you would understand as part of our defense procurement policy.
Yes.
So we have about 51 projects which are currently underway there.
Okay.
Then you have what you refer to as the innovation in defense excellence, IDEX route.
Correct.
We again have about 54 projects which are currently ongoing. Then we have with the DRDO, the design and development route, we have another 50 odd projects.
Okay.
Fourth, we have the technology development fund, again where we in collaboration with the DRDO look at these niche areas. Then you have at the field formation level what we refer to as the IR&D, Innovation Research and Development Fund, where the field army, our units can undertake projects which is of immediate relevance to us. And lastly, in collaboration with the academic institutes, we have what we call as the Army Technology Board, where the R-Track undertakes this project. So all this is happening in the
modernization journey that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if I were to just define it in terms of various areas, in the artillery, we now have long range surveillance, we have short range RPAs, your drones, which are now including very micro,
mini and micro
drones, which are also of use to an infantry soldier.
Right.
For the radio sets, we have software defined radios, we have loiter munitions, and a number of similar projects in combat engineers, in air defense, and I mentioned to you use of artificial intelligence for in fields such as imagery interpretation, natural language processing, identification systems in our forward areas. So that is where we are utilizing AI, and likewise quantum computing to be able to give secure communication networks. and the 5G
Right.
in the future. So we are coming up with a 5G roadmap as to how do we look at 5G, how can it be integrated for military applications in the next, let us say, 5 to 10 years.
True,
Yes.
but also, if I am not mistaken, you are also looking at the indigenous route, the Make in India, Atmanirbharta, even in conventional platforms.
Absolutely.
So, again, what is the progress there, and what are your plans for, say, conventional platforms through Atmanirbhar route?
Post the ongoing conflicts and the lessons that we picked up, conflicts as well as what happened during the pandemic, we were very clear that you need to be self-reliant.
Right.
And that was the beginning or the start point. And that is how we are committed to develop our capability to the Atmanirbharta route. As to what are we doing in these areas, I would list out 5 to 6, developing a military defense industry ecosystem where we are playing our role very
True.
actively and I would say proactively. Also, we've set up, you are aware of the Army Design Bureau,
Yes, of course.
which is now a very vibrant and a very, I would say, happening setup.
It's a
which is-
great bridge between the industry and the
Absolutely,
army.
and they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Of course, we can improve on it further.
Sure.
Then we have the regional technology nodes, which are at each of our commands,
Right.
3 of them presently. So they are again interfacing with the local industry.
Right.
Then we have Indian Army cells, which we have set up at IITs. Currently it is in IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore. We'll have it in more institutes.
Sure.
Then we are also looking at problem definition statements we put out last year, so that industry knows or understand what is our felt need. We are doing something similar. We'll be
Yes.
releasing it on the Army Day.
Right.
Then we are doing a lot of hand holding of the industry
Yeah.
in terms of providing them testing trial facilities,
Sure.
organizing visits of industry representatives to the forward areas, and number of such initiatives. And lastly, in terms of development, there are 2 routes we are following. One is the parallel development,
Sure.
the 6
Which
routes
you-
which I
yes.
mentioned,
Yes.
as also spiral development
Okay.
in innovation.
So
that
make one, Mark 1, Mark 2
Mark
kind
1,
of
2.
thing. Yeah,
So,
like that.
that is how I think for the startups, it's a good way
Right.
to move forward. And
Sure.
I think we have achieved very good results. If you look at purely the figures, last year we've got AONs, as you would,
Yes,
in principle
acceptance of
approval
necessity,
for
yeah.
procurement
Correct.
of 37 projects, all indigenous,
Right.
amounting to about 74,000 crores. In terms of contracts, we got into 86 contracts, about 12,000 crores. So this is, I mean, it just goes to show as to how we are moving forward. You will also be glad to know that we have about 340 industries who are working on various projects,
Excellent.
about 230 odd contracts,
Right.
amounting to 2.5 lakh crores. This is by 2025.
Okay.
So what I am trying to say is the defense industry has stepped up, invested a lot in the R&D as well as modern manufacturing techniques. So we have full confidence that moving forward, we will be able to find indigenous solutions to our defense requirements.
True, it's a win-win situation. But
Absolutely.
I was also curious to know about the light tank project and some artillery, projects that you have for indigenous route.
Yes. So I'll tell you about the light tank. So we
Right.
are looking at a tank which is in the weight category of, let us say, 25 tons or thereabouts,
Right.
as against the current
Yeah.
category of tank which is about 45
Correct.
tons.
Sure.
And of course this will be of use to us in mountains.
Right.
So we have a total of 354 light tanks for which AON has been obtained or given to us.
Right.
And it is under 2 routes.
Okay.
One is the design and development route, wherein the DRDO alongside one of their production partners is
Right.
working on it.
Yes.
If I remember right, there are about 59 quantities
there,
there.
yeah.
and there's about 295 which is under a Make 1 category,
Okay.
which will be partially funded by the government
Right.
and partially by the development partners. So the first one, the DRDO product, I reckon it will be fielded by April, May this year.
I see.
Whereas in the second route, again, to our EOI or expression of interest, sort of
Going
when we
out.
put it out, we have good response.
Right.
Fair number of industry have shown interest. That is currently under evaluation.
Right.
Then we'll put out a RFP, identify 2 development partners, and then it will follow the route of providing the project sanction,
Yes.
and maybe another 2.5 years you will have a product. So that is what this is a good example of
Exactly.
how the industry is now again
Stepping
keen
up,
to
yeah.
participate in major platforms such as the
Exactly,
light
yeah,
tanks.
conventional platforms.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. So that's excellent as far as the Atmanirbharta route is concerned. That also brings me to what has happened in terms of technology being inducted into field units
Yes.
during the standoff with China or even otherwise. So in that respect, one final question on the modernization thing. How has the Indian industries again sort of rose to the, has it risen to the challenge of giving you drones, counter drones,
Yes.
in surveillance equipment? Have they managed to do that?
Indeed. So I mentioned to you about the emergency procurement provision.
Correct.
So we have utilized this provision well, I would feel, wherein new technologies, niche technologies,
Right.
smaller quantities, which are of immediate requirement for our forward troops, we were able to purchase.
Right.
We had total 4 tranches of the emergency procurement. Those in the first 3 have already been delivered
Right.
and are already there,
Correct.
being used by our field formations. The 4th one we will start getting the deliveries. And again we are getting very good feedback on their utility, how they are being utilized, which will now form the basis of our major capital procurements.
Okay.
I wish to just highlight one thing. Just inducting new technology is not good enough. Alongside, we'll have to work out our new operational concepts, employment philosophies,
Right.
the TTPs, tactics, techniques and procedures, their maintenance requirements.
Sure.
So all this is being addressed simultaneously so that the potential of the new technologies is able to be exploited to the maximum. perhaps.
Right.
So we are looking at this also simultaneously.
So simultaneously then you two also have officers and men who can actually also bring their skill levels up to the level that is required for niche and disruptive and modern technologies. In that respect, what is the parallel process?
So you rightly point out the technological threshold of our soldiers, which I don't see as a major issue. But what we are doing is, whatever this new technology we are acquiring, the training aggregates are being sent to our various training establishments.
Right.
Be it for the artillery, engineers, communications, infantry, and everything about the new equipment is being taught,
Right.
or the new soldiers or NCOs, JCOs officers are being told about this equipment, so
Right.
that when they go to field formations, they are aware as to what it is.
Okay.
And
So let me, in that context, then talk about. I wanted to do it later, but Agniveer we spoke about briefly. You spoke
Yes.
about it. What has been the experience of the first batch of Agniveer recruitment that has happened? They are now already in the units, I believe. So what is your experience so far?
yeah, so the first 2 batches, first batch Agniveers joined the units in the month of August.
Right.
The second batch joined in October
Okay. Last year, 2023.
2023, that is right. And the third batch also, of half the numbers, they have joined in 1st of November.
Okay.
And the feedback from the initial 2 batches, I would say, is extremely positive and encouraging.
Okay.
So that is good news. Our commanders, right from a tactical level, junior leaders, JCOs, company commanders, COs, they are enthused. One of the main focus areas is to be able to correctly integrate them and
Right.
assimilate them into the system.
Existing
which
system,
is something which I have been emphasizing when I go and talk to our officers.
Right.
Simultaneously, I have also been emphasizing the importance of having a fair, credible, transparent assessment system that will enable us to retain the best out of the best.
Right.
And that is the key.
Correct.
So I must tell you, even this has happened. This Assam software has already been rolled out.
I see.
Units are using it. So I'm confident at the end of the first 4 years, when we come to retaining this 25%,
Right.
we will have achieved our main.
You would have selected the best out of them.
Absolutely.
And through a proper process,
Yes.
which you said credible and transparent needs to be
Yes.
there.
And now this is the first time we have adopted this scheme. So as we are moving forward, small at the tactical level, we are making some minor, I would say, changes to the systems, procedures, systems that we have in place. To give you an example, in terms of the training duration.
Yes.
So initially we had said that Agniveer will not miss more than 30.
And again, here you have used technology, if I am not
Absolutely,
mistaken.
yes. And not only this, in our regimental centers, some of where we have had to reduce the training duration, we are compensating for this by
Right.
use of simulators, by use of other technological methods. We have set up sports injury centers and the like. So it's a whole new outlook, whole new paradigm
Right.
that we are looking at, and I'm confident that
So I can say that like this, that for a modern army, or the army that strives to become more and more modern,
Yes.
modern training techniques are also being adopted.
absolutely.
I think that's the way you're going. That also brings me to the more induction of women officers.
Yes.
One part of that, and the second is of course that first time women officers have started commanding units.
Yes.
So what is the update on those two issues?
Well, currently we have close to 1800 women officers in our establishment.
Right.
And I must upfront tell you that they have given an excellent account of themselves
Sure.
in every which area,
Right.
including we have in the UN,
Mm-hmm.
out of our observers and staff assignments, 25% of them are women officers. We have about 100 women peacekeepers amongst women soldiers who are
Oh,
again
okay.
doing very well there.
Right.
As far as your first part as to how the COs and the women COs, we have about 120 women commanding officers currently who were approved for the selection grade rank
Right.
of colonel, and they are commanding units well. Some of them are in very challenging and demanding areas.
Right.
But again, the feedback from there is, so we had to train them, oriented them, give them, so we prepared them. And again, the feedback as far as how the women officers are doing is very good. In terms of giving them more opportunities, till about 2 years back, we were taking about 80 women officers into the system.
Sure.
From the OTA, for
Right.
short service.
Correct.
Now you are aware we've started training girl cadets in India as well,
Yes.
20 of them. So this number, which was earlier 80, we have now enhanced to about 140.
Right.
And you would remember last year we inducted women officers in the Regiment of Artillery,
Yes.
in the RBC.
Right.
We have about 6 to 7 women officers who are now in the Army Aviation. So
Very
they are
good.
doing, 3 of them are in active squadrons
The helicopter squadrons.
as helicopter
yeah.
pilots.
Pilots, yeah.
So I
That's-
think this
that's,
is the way to go, and
It will increase only as we go
Absolutely.
forward. I think
Yeah.
the first batch of the NDA will be now going to IMA, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, so there are 19 girl cadets. I think they'll pass out in another year's time, out of which 10 are for the Army,
Right.
6 for the Air Force and 3 for the, so
Four
they'll
for the
go to the
Navy.
respective
Right.
pre-commission
Yeah,
training academies.
that's right. So that's where I think brings me to the last point of the first part, is about India's role in the United Nations.
Yes.
And also how the Indian Army, I've seen this in the past 1.5 years or so, that you have increased the global outlook or outreach.
Yes.
If you can elaborate on that.
Yes, that is an important issue that you touched.
That's right.
So besides our UN participation, which currently stands at about 5,900, we have 5,900 of our soldiers as peacekeepers
Right.
deployed in about 11 UN missions, peacekeeping missions, out of the total 14 that we have currently. But besides the UN, we also have taken certain other initiatives. Recently, in fact, in the month of March last year, in Pune we had a exercise
Right.
combined with the Chiefs Conclave. We called it Africa India Exercise, Appendix,
Appendix, yeah.
wherein you had the chiefs from almost 24 African countries who came to Pune,
Right.
and it was a 3-day event. So we had an exercise where the smaller contingents took part, and thereafter the chiefs sat down to discuss certain issues of common interest
Right.
in the security domain. So that was one. More recently, in the month of September last year, we had the Indo-Pacific Army Chiefs Conference,
Yes.
alongside a couple of other events. So
Right.
this was held in Delhi. We
Right.
had again chiefs or their representatives from 32 odd countries
Right.
in the Indo-Pacific, African continent,
Right.
as well as South America. So this was again a good opportunity for us, to get to know each other, discuss issues of common interest,
Right.
besides other. Now we also utilize this opportunity to showcase to them as to how our domestic defense industry is doing in terms of their products.
Right.
So this has been a common theme. So whenever we do joint exercises, whenever the foreign contingents come here
Sure.
or such events, we utilize this opportunity
To showcase
this.
Indian
And-
capability.
and they show some of them are surprised, some of them evince keen interest, or most of them are very interested
Sure.
in what it holds for them.
Right.
Our defense wings, which are alongside the high commissioners and embassies, they have been very proactive again in terms of promoting, shall we say, defense exports or showcasing what is our capability of the defense industry.
Right.
Some of them have been restructured. We have new areas where our defense wings and our military attaches have come about. And other than that, we have our routine training engagements,
Correct.
training
Joint exercises. Yeah.
which again is,
That's true.
we send our officers, men, to various countries. So it's a joint, or training is another important aspect, including in the pre-commissioned training area.
Sure.
So this is, and lastly, our yoga or a soft power outreach. So we are making sure that whenever our contingents go out, we have our trained yoga instructors. So that is also another time.
Yeah, because
we
that has
follow.
become one of the prominent features of India's soft power. anyway.
Absolutely, yes. So we are doing our bit
Right.
in contributing to this entire effort.
Excellent. One final this thing about this. I think more and more courses are being attended by both foreign officers in India
Yes.
at the higher level or middle level, and even Indian officers are going to newer countries. I have noticed to their National Defence College courses
Absolutely,
or other
yes.
free staff college courses, something of that kind.
Yes, absolutely. And besides courses on professional subjects, we also have our officers attending higher technology oriented courses, again in AI, quantum,
Oh,
likewise.
okay.
Of course, they are a little of longer duration.
Right. So you're talking about JCOs and others.
Yes.
So what is that? I mean, what are those details?
So, see, our strengths are in counterinsurgency, counter-terrorism, our expertise in high altitude warfare and the like.
Right.
So we have in these areas even our JCOs, Jawans,
Yes.
attending courses outside. So this is something which we are now encouraging and seeking more vacancies, and we've already started this.
So it's a two-way process. They learn from our people. And
Absolutely.
our
So
people
what I'm
learn
saying
from
is we are going beyond just the officer level training.
Yeah.
And taking it to the level of JCOs
Correct.
and the rank, which I believe is again something which will benefit us.
Of course, it will. And before we get into the operational areas, the standoff with China, the situation in J&K or on the LOC, all that. One thought from you on the ex-servicemen community, the veterans.
Yes.
You know, there are always issues. They are facing sometimes health issues. They are sometimes facing pension issues and all that. And Army has always tried to reach out to ex-servicemen, trying to give them as much help as possible. Any thoughts you have on that front, really?
So our welfare, well-being of our ex-servicemen veterans as well as the Veer Naris is extremely important to us, and I would say that's an enduring commitment from our side. And in this regard, a number of initiatives have been taken. We have a large number of schemes for the, let's say, education of the wards, scholarships, admissions, assistance or MOUs with various banks, various corporates. All this. What we are focusing on now is to make sure that information, awareness about all this actually reaches the last person.
Exactly, that
Because
has
that
been
is
a
the
problem,
key,
yes.
so that maximum of our ex-servicemen, their wards, are able to benefit out of various schemes or initiatives that we have taken.
Right.
So that is something which we are focusing on. And in other areas which are of day-to-day, I would say, requirements such as canteen stores department, the ECHS, the Army Welfare Placement Organization. Now these organizations are also, I would say, proactively engaging with them, and the effort is to keep them informed
Yes.
of what is happening in the Army.
Right.
And what is it that, what are the good things, what are these initiatives which are, only then will they be able to draw the benefits.
And they will become, I mean, they are your ambassadors anyway.
Absolutely. Undoubtedly,
Right.
they are the ones who, you rightly said, are ambassadors. They are the ones who will project the image of the military army outside.
Right.
So they are very important to us, and equally important is to engage with them. And so we are making a very deliberate effort at various military stations in various areas.
Right.
And I think it is giving good results.
That's very good to know. I think we've got this comprehensive technology, human resource, training aspects covered. We will, in the second part of this interaction, we will talk about the operational areas and the other issues that we have. I need to take a break, but I'll come back with more with General Manoj Pande, India's Army Chief, speaking to us days ahead of the Army Day on 15th of January 2024. Welcome back to this second part of my conversation with India's Army Chief General Manoj Pande. So far we have focused on the plans of modernization, transformation, human resource management that the Army is doing, vast Indian Army as you are aware, and therefore all this is geared towards taking care of how to meet the challenges by the adversaries in India's border areas and otherwise. So let me now turn to him and ask him on where are we as far as the standoff with China is concerned. We are nearly 3.5 years gone past from summer of 2020 to now, and the standoff in Ladakh of course continues. So if you can give us an update of where are we on that front.
Right. Nitin, the situation on the line of actual control, I would say, is currently stable, and the fact that we haven't had any major incidents in the last 2.5, 3 years, I think bears that out. However, we need to constantly monitor the situation there and keep a close watch on developments. On the other side, I think the heightened deployment of troops continues. But with the onset of winters, whatever troops were there in the training areas across the LAC seem to have gone back to their permanent garrisons.
I see.
As far as our deployment goes, I think we are maintaining a very balanced and robust posture, also maintaining adequate reserves in all sector to be able to deal with any contingencies that may arise.
Right.
So our guidance, or my guidance to troops is, or forward troops is, to be firm in their resolve and ensure that there is no attempt to change the current status quo. We are continuing with our talks to find resolution to the balance areas, both at the military level as well as at the diplomatic level. You are aware of the two mechanisms that we have. We have the senior SHMCL, senior higher military commander level meeting. There again we've had 20 rounds of meetings so far. And likewise we have the WMCC, the working mechanism for consultation and coordination, which is at the diplomatic level,
Right.
of which we have had 14 rounds of talks so far after May of 2020. The talks are continuing. We are continuing to engage with the other side, and we are positive that at the end we will find a resolution to our balance areas that are currently we are looking at finding resolution to.
That's as far as Ladakh is concerned, and of course because of that events or episodes in the summer of 2020, you had to do the rebalancing of your forces.
Yes.
In that respect, now is the rebalancing permanent more or less, and like you said, large number of deployments in Ladakh itself has taken place. But how does that work in terms of logistics, infrastructure? Has that improved over the years now, over the last 3 years?
Yes. So your first question, has the rebalancing process been put in place? Has
Right.
it been completed? I would say yes.
Okay.
Whatever we had sought doing initially,
Right.
I think all that is there. In terms of what else is happening or are we doing, we are focusing on the capability development of our posture in these areas. And in terms of inducting new equipment, in the first part of our talk I mentioned about the emergency
Right.
procurement provision.
Sure.
And so we were able to purchase good quantities of various equipment to enhance our mobility, protections, surveillance, precision munition, survivability, equipment dealing with that.
Right.
So all that has been inducted, like I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So that is one part of our capability development. In terms of infrastructure, we have been focusing on infrastructure development. Now, be it the roads or the communication, be it our forward electric supply, etc. Of which I think the road infrastructure, I would say, is very important. And towards this, 70% of the funds which the border roads is getting, they are focused or they are diverted to the northern borders. Border roads has a 5-year long-term roll-on plan. They call it the LTROWP. Now in this there are some 365 roads which amount to about 18,000 crores which they have identified, and we jointly have identified
Naturally.
actually, for development from 2023 till 2028.
Okay.
So that is progressing well. You are aware of the tunnels.
Right.
The Sela tunnel, the Nechifu tunnel are complete. The tunnels between Srinagar and Kargil, the Zedmore and Zujila tunnel are again progressing well. And the road connectivity through Shinkunla tunnel in the Padam sector,
Right.
along the Zanskar valley.
Yes.
That again I am told the work will soon start. And then there are issues of alternate connectivity to the DSDBO.
Yes.
That is something which we are again pursuing, and so is the alternate connectivity in Kameng sector of Western Arunachal Pradesh. So alternate road connectivity and tunnels are, I would say, progressing well.
Okay.
In terms of habitat, I think in the last 3 years we have been able to construct some 400 390 to be precise, company-sized modules for our troops to be able to stay there.
Comfortably stay there.
Comfortably stay there. And that is how we have been able to accommodate about 40,000 troops who are staying there comfortably. Not only the troops, also the equipment.
Yeah.
Some of our larger platforms which need controlled environment for their performance, etc. So all that has been looked at. In this connection, I must also mention we are engaging with other government ministries, departments, with the local state administration. And again, to give an example, along with the power ministry, we have identified 105 of our forward locations where the power ministry has assured that the electric supply, they will make sure that it reaches there, so that our reliance on fossil fuels is reduced.
Right.
There we have about 1300 kilowatts of solar energy and non-conventional energy projects already which are in place. In terms of communication, we have identified 365 of our forward army posts where 4G connectivity
I see.
will soon reach, I'm told by September of this year.
Okay.
Likewise, helipads, upgradation of ALGs, underground storage facilities. So these are the areas that we are looking at.
Yeah, because I mean, like you mentioned, troops are one, but supporting infrastructure, logistics is quite another, and I think that's important, and you've actually given a lot of details there. As far as the Kameng sector or Arunachal Pradesh is concerned, there were these proposals for a frontier highway. There is also the east-west highway. And you've been Eastern Army Commander. We in fact met there nearly 2 years, 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago. What is the progress there?
Right. So you are aware, you already have a connectivity across, which is in the foothills.
Right.
We refer to as the Trans-Arunachal Highway.
Correct.
We are looking at another highway which connects all the
valleys
of Arunachal Pradesh.
Right.
Some part of it is already completed. There were some valleys which are still not completed.
Right.
So I think amongst those 4 or 5 different stretches, it has now been decided along with the MORTH as to which are those more challenging stretches which the BRO must take up.
Right.
Some others will be taken up through the NHIDCL and through a EPC model.
Correct.
I am told very recently the final allotment of funds for the stretches which the BRO is to undertake has happened. So I am hopeful that these stretches or these valleys which still remain not connected in the next 2 to 3 years, I think we'll have that happen. But that is a important priority area to establish an inter-valley connectivity that will then enable smooth movement of forces from one side or one sector to the other.
Right. We in the first part we missed out. At least I missed out asking you a question about inter-service cooperation. Especially, I remember 2 years ago we had spoken about how the Air Force stepped up its efforts along with the Army to induct troops, equipment everywhere. So that could be one step towards theaterization, jointness, integration. How do you see the effort towards that end when you talk about inducting troops in the forward areas which are difficult along the northern frontier?
I think the role of the Air Force is going to be extremely critical, especially in areas where our forward road or surface connectivity is still not up to the desired level, and that is where the transport aircrafts and their abilities to induct troops in a very short period of time comes into play, for which you need forward helipads. So we are working very closely with the Air Force, especially in the areas of Arunachal Pradesh. We routinely practice, rehearse induction of forces, induction of equipment, and in areas where there are advanced landing grounds, even heavier platforms through their transport fleet aircraft. So this is one area, especially in the northeast, I feel, which is critical, and we are focusing on it.
Right. So, coming back to Ladakh for a moment, the three routes that are now connecting Ladakh, one from Srinagar to Leh, the other from Manali to Leh, but only for 6 months, and then of course the third alternative that you spoke about, Sinkunla, Padam, Zanskar Valley.
Yeah.
How has that given you kind of a enhanced capability for movement of troops and rapid deployment? Has there been a boost to that effort really?
Yes. So, I mean, all the three
Axis.
sectors or road axes that you talked about, once they come up, it will give you an all-weather, all-season connectivity to the Ladakh or the Eastern Ladakh sector.
Right.
Which currently, as you are aware, the road surface communication is open only during certain months,
Right.
and almost 6 to 7 months in a year because of heavy accumulation of snow in all the passes,
Right.
be it Zojila Pass or along the Manali axis on the three passes that exist.
Right.
So that currently is a challenge. With these tunnels coming up and with this road connectivity having established, I think that will be a major achievement. It will reduce our logistics effort to sustain our troops as well as for the other civil population in that area to a large extent.
So you spoke about exactly. In fact, civil population is a key in a sense, and in that context, the program for vibrant villages.
Yes.
How is that dovetailing into Indian Army's plans to have a kind of a posture in the northern frontier?
Right. So out of the 600 odd vibrant villages which have been identified for development by the government, in the initial phase, about 100 of them, we had given our inputs from purely a military or a security point of view. And they have been incorporated in identifying and selecting these villages. And by virtue of our presence there, or our footprint, as they say, in these forward areas, we will do our bit or more than our bit in making sure that this project takes off and the implementation happens in terms of whatever assistance, cooperation the executing agencies require. And we are already working closely with the state governments of these states to identify as to how Army can help, how Army can assist or collaborate in this effort.
Right. So you had spoken about increased outreach or enhanced outreach to other ministries, environment, forests, even I think the information technology or the communications ministry. What are those details that you can give us?
So I have always been saying this, that if we have to improve our outcomes, improve our results, we need to reach out. You need to engage with other government departments and ministries, which is extremely critical. And that has been one of my focus areas for last year and a half now. So in that connection, we are engaging with the Power Ministry I mentioned for power.
Power supplies to the
forward areas. To the Ministry of Railways for our movement of troops and goods, both during peacetime as well as during period of hostilities.
Right.
We are also engaging with Telecom Ministry. We are engaging with MITI in a major way. And here I would just highlight 5-6 areas where we are collaborating with them. One is, of course, software development. Second is exchange of best practices in hardware and data security. We are also taking their help for audit of our data centers. Also their assistance in identified embedded malware in whatever procurements that we do. And lastly, we are also collaborating them in establishing other data centers and other technology IT parks which they are doing. So this again has yielded very positive results, and we realize that if we join or we collaborate with the ongoing government schemes, be it Digital India and the likes, it is much, I would say it is much better, and that is how you will again optimize your resources.
Right.
We are also engaging with other ministries, that's the Human Resource Development Ministry. For example, for the Agniveers, by
Right.
the time they move out of our system at the end of 4 years, so based on the new education policy as to what kind of skill sets they'll develop,
Right.
what education qualifications they will
They
acquire.
require.
So that is one area. We are also engaging with the MOSJ, Ministry of Empowerment and Skill Development,
Right.
for things like our Paralympic nodes, where we are training our Paralympians who have performed very well in
Yes.
the recently concluded
They
Asian
have,
Games in Pune.
Correct.
And likewise, Ministry of Sports for the Mission Olympic Wing Initiative,
Right.
and a whole lot others. So all this, I think, is
So that will help in terms
Yes.
of coordination, better coordination
Absolutely,
everywhere
yes.
in that respect. But let me now turn to JNK. It's been 4 years of abrogation of Article 370.
Yes.
It, of course, was an ongoing improvement that we are seeing. But let me start with the recent incident in Poonch Rajouri, or incidents in Poonch Rajouri, where there have been ambushes and encounters, and there was this controversial encounter that or ambush that took place on 21st of December, if I am not mistaken. Why is it that that area has now suddenly become hot, and what are the steps that you're taking to avoid these kind of incidents?
Yes. So your observation in terms of Rajouri Poonch area having become active for the last couple of years is correct. And largely it is to do with the designs of our adversaries to abet terrorism, to support proxy tanzeems across the LC in our area. So that is the result. As a manifestation, you have a situation that currently is prevailing. But I must mention, in the last 3 years in this area, we have been able to neutralize about 45 foreign terrorists who have been operating there. Now till 2003, the situation, or after 2003 till 2019, I think the situation was normal. Peace prevailed, development activities are happening, and that is perhaps what prompted, encouraged the adversaries to again reactivate this area. So that is one aspect. Now what is it that we are doing? Of course, we have reoriented our counter-infiltration and counter-terrorism grid in that area, inducted certain additional forces, revitalized the intelligence setup, so that more of human we are able to get. We are trying to use technology in terms of to be able to identify, gather intelligence,
Right.
To make our forces more, I would say, effective. We are also cooperating, synergizing our operations with other security agencies and intelligence agencies in this area,
Right.
which again is starting to show positive results. As far as my guidance to soldiers, commanders in that area is to act in a professional manner, make sure that we continue to engage with the local community, because you need to win their hearts and minds, engage with them. They are extremely important to us. Work in synergy with other agencies, and whatever has been our experience in dealing with these situations for the last so many years, our professionalism, focus on that, focus on undertaking operations in a professional manner, so that you get
So there are
outcomes and results.
Let me be blunt about this. That there were allegations about aberrations or human rights violations, and then it can be taken advantage of by inimical agencies. In that respect, what is your guidance, or what have you told the troops now to do it, and what would be the action if whenever some inquiry is completed?
Right. So first, this is your second question about these allegations.
Right.
As you are aware, we are investigating them. We'll do it in a very fair, transparent and a time-bound manner.
Correct.
and that is my assurance. And anybody who's been found guilty or stepping out of the line, having not followed the guidelines, instruction, rules of engagement, we will take strict action against them. And I've been explaining to my boys, including when I recently visited, the importance of engaging with the local community, winning their confidence, and work towards that. We already have the chief's commandments in terms of the guidelines, the do's and don'ts to operate in this area, and I have re-emphasized them, reminded our soldiers once again. And I'm sure going forward, our relentless operations in these areas will continue, and we will find or get very positive results.
One final question now in this whole long conversation that we have had, and a very insightful conversation, I must say. What are the two operational challenges that you see on our borders? One is of course the line of control with Pakistan, the other is the line of actual control. And can they manifest into a kind of a combined threat to India's security?
So, I mean, if I were to look at a larger canvas, the larger issues, one of the challenges that I see is while our operational commitments continue, and like you said, both on the western borders as well as on the northern borders. So our operational preparedness has to, or the readiness levels have to remain of a very high order. So while one hand we are undergoing this process of transformation, of which we, I think, discussed in great detail, the various elements of it, and also that fact that it is a process. So while this is happening, we'll have to make sure that the readiness levels or the preparedness does not get affected in any manner. And that is something which I think is extremely important as we move forward.
And that's something which I'm sure you're constantly emphasizing on. With the troops, with the officers, with the leadership going forward. Because one thing that comes out now from the recent developments, either in Israel, Gaza, Israel-Hamas conflict or the Russia-Ukraine conflict, is now you cannot predict the nature of the conflict really.
So we have to be able to correctly identify as to how future's war will be fought. That is the beginning, and then prepared for them accordingly.
And all kinds of scenarios.
Also, in our case where we have active borders, disputed borders, we have to make sure that we are not neither tactically or not strategically surprised. So the vigil will have to continue. We'll have to remain on toes. Our alertness level will have to be of a very high order, whilst our capability development initiatives, infrastructure development, progresses continuously.
While it's a work in progress, you rightly said, and I think you've given us an excellent overview of the various initiatives, various programs, and the planning that you have done. And I can only say best of luck to the Indian Army and to you, because this year may be crucial in many respects. But I'm confident that the Indian Army will rise to the challenge as it always has. So thank you very much for your time and your insights and your detailed explanation of where the Indian Army is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nitin. It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to Bharat Shakti. I am Nitin Gokhale. This special broadcast consists of an interview, an extensive interview with Northern Army Commander Lt Gen Upendra Dwivedi, who has spoken about both the situation on the Western Front with Pakistan and the situation on the line of actual control with China, and where we are as far as the resolution of the border standoff with China is concerned, apart from all the work that the Indian Army and the Northern Command is doing in Jammu and Kashmir. General Dwivedi, let me first start by thanking you for taking off your time in such a busy schedule and such a vast area of operation that you command. So it's a real pleasure to have you on our special broadcast.
Thank you, Nitin, and we are meeting after 1.5 years.
Yes, exactly.
And thanks for joining us here again.
No, it's my pleasure, and we are looking forward to a great interaction because everybody wants to know what's happening in Northern Command, which is the most operationally active area. I want to start with the abrogation of Article 370 4 years ago.
Yes.
And what has happened since then? If you can give me a sort of broad picture of these last 4 years, what has happened in Jammu and Kashmir?
So let me begin with giving you 2 examples. I was interacting with one of the senior ladies married to one of the ex-deputy chief minister, and she said when the abrogation of Article 370 took place, the children, when they came home, earlier the children used to be asked by a teacher that please make a map of the flag of India and the flag of a country and bring it back. So they used to go back and ask, Mummy, do you have to wait for the Pakistan or for India?
Oh my God.
But Article 370 abrogation made very clear that it has to be Indian map which has to be there. The second issue which is there is recently Masroor Wani, sub-inspector who was playing cricket with the children.
Right.
It happened on 29th of October. When the terrorists fired at him, the whole community, all the children ran after the terrorists.
Oh my God.
So it means there is a sea change which has taken. The mindset change has taken place. The society is accepting this as a welcome change.
Right. So, and that is of course at the fundamental change, at the fundamental level, people's mindset changing at the fundamental level. When you look at the other aspects of it, say infrastructure, governance, of course army is also part of that governance structure. But what do you observe? I mean, are people a little more freer to more tourists are coming, or what has been the observation?
Okay, let me put it in 2 parameters.
Right.
First parameter is, has the terrorism gone down?
Right.
So if I can say that from 2022, what we see is approximately 1/4 of violence what we have seen this year. Even the recruitment has come down to 15 from peak 2020 when it was 61.
Okay.
Similarly, as far as the terrorists killed who are there has also come down tremendously. Now coming on to the other parameters, if you see Lal Chowk today, the hustle and bustle is like you see in Chand Chowk.
Oh, wow.
Similarly, the tourists which are there, we are expecting approximately 2.35 tourists coming this time, that is crores. That is increase of 25% from last year.
Wonderful.
Now if you look at Amarnath Yatra, this time we have gone for 4.5 lakhs, which is improvement from 3.75 lakhs crores last year.
That's right.
Lakhs last year.
Yeah.
So if you see, all the indicators are pointing towards development.
So obviously people are feeling much safer. The others also outside Jammu and Kashmir are also looking at Jammu and Kashmir as a place to visit rather than what used to happen earlier.
Yes.
The army's contribution I want to speak about because army has now spent more than 33 years fighting the insurgency, militancy, whatever you want to call it, terrorism. But now, what is the army's main role in the hinterland? I'm not talking about the line of control, but in the hinterland, how are you meshing your policies with the civil administration?
So, firstly, I will take on as far as the nation building is concerned. If we look into it, what we have to understand, army has been with the populace, sukh dukh ka saath. मैं समय हूँ, मैं हमेशा साथ पे रहूँ. And this is what is happening now. Since we have a strong leadership, we have the reach in the outer areas, in the farther reaches. We have the hinterland network. Also, we have the funds which is given to us in form of Ops Sadbhavna.
Right.
And then we have great military and civil synergy. Keeping this, all the factors, what we are looking at, that are we able to help out in the national integration of J&K in the national mainstream? We are playing a very pivotal role. Then we called it security assurance.
Right.
Now all the infrastructure development which is taking place in last 4-5 years, you would have seen the pace has increased.
Exactly.
The economic infusion of funds which is there, the pace has increased. All the children who was going outside and picking up jobs, now they are wanting to come back and give back to the society. So these are the changes which are taking place. And of course, in terms of economic development, we have approximately 7,400 crores of salary which the army itself gets here. Even if 20% is pitched in back, you can just imagine.
Oh yes.
And similarly, 7,500 crores is what we are spending here in terms of procurement, employment of local laborers, porters, police.
Right.
So major role.
So
they are
huge
playing.
contribution economically, and the circulation of money which takes
Yes.
place, that activity is taking place.
Yes.
And I think the army also, correct me if I am wrong, that the army also contributes in skill development, in giving new skills to women, children. Many centers I've seen, and I get reports from distant NGOs from Pune and Bangalore that they're coming and working here. So what is that aspect?
You are absolutely right. Firstly, NGOs are big help to us. When I'm saying big help to us, to Jammu Kashmir, and army is the biggest conduit because we enjoy the trust and, like I told you, the connection which we have in the hinterland.
Right.
Now coming on to Prime Minister Kaushal Vikas Yojana, Project Himalayan. So Northern Command, all the core headquarters and div headquarters have taken up a lot of projects where we are going in for skilling in various forms.
Right.
Whether it's for digitization, whether it's for tailoring, whether it is also for teaching. We are also running Army Goodwill schools, and approximately 15,000 children are studying there, out of which 40% are women, the girl child.
So that's empowerment.
Yes, and 2,000 teachers are there in that. So the ecosystem, as it is, like we say that a sampling we can do.
Right.
So we are providing a shining path to it. Now others have to just follow it, so that slowly and slowly it enhances the scope.
See, you talked about skilling, security assurance. That also then gives confidence to big industrial houses or investors to come into Jammu and Kashmir. I think that's the reports that one has been, reading and talking to people. One understands that a lot of investment is at least planned, if not completely done here.
You're absolutely right. See, G20 which has taken place.
Right.
And similarly, such activities, when they take place here, the investors' confidence go high. When I also speak to various people, they say, look, we have the money.
Right.
We want to invest in such area, but how to go about it?
Correct.
And the initiative which have been taken by the civil government, now even from West Asia firms are coming forward and trying to invest here.
Right.
Now we also have a lot of cold storage, etc. coming up. So the problem which used to be there for the apple trade, there is a band or there are problems. All those problems are also being taken care of.
Correct.
So what is happening? The market itself is reaching here and then picking up the products and taking to balance of India.
So I think overall, as I see, if just to finish this military civic action and also the coordination, is that now there is a normalcy which we see elsewhere we used to see elsewhere in the country, but not in Jammu and Kashmir. I think one can sum up by saying that Jammu and Kashmir is now a normal state or a union territory.
Here I would like to just add on one more issue.
Right.
This seed was sown in 2019 August.
Right.
Now there's a small sapling has come up.
Yes.
It has become a mini plant.
Right.
Now all these stakeholders to make sure that this plant is protected to become a big tree. So calling it normal, yes, but with a degree of
Caution.
caution.
Yeah, I think very well put. That the excellent summation of what we talked about. But let me come to one constant factor in this: Pakistan's attempt to continue the proxy war, which it had launched 35 years ago. Where are we on that? Because there are sporadic attacks, sporadic killings. So I want you to tell us or tell our viewers in two parts. So one is the situation on the line of control, and Pakistan's attempts to keep the flames burning as far as insurgency or militancy or terrorism is concerned.
So initially when I gave out the figures of the parameters,
Right.
now these parameters also cause of worry for Pakistan. As you are aware from the FATF grey list, they have been taken out.
Right.
The internal turmoil or internal disturbance, political disturbance which are there in Pakistan are very known to you. So this is the time when they want to divert the mind. Second issue is in the month of May, June, we are likely to have the elections, parliamentary elections.
Right.
Now, once these elections are called as free and fair, what happens? Any kind of a representation by Pakistan thereafter becomes ineffective. As along the LC, if we see that, what has happened this time, that the infiltration attempts have been very, very high.
Right.
Though we have ensured zero infiltration in 2023,
Right.
but the attempts have been very high. In LC itself, for the first time, we have been able to kill, which is 200 times of the previous 3 years included together.
I see.
So 43 foreign terrorists we have killed along the LC.
Right.
Now that is what something is non-palatable to. That's why what they are doing is that they are trying to send FTs. They are also trying to revive those local terrorists who had gone across and they have actually become quiet.
Right.
And or they have become launch commanders, OGWs, or the last 2-3 incidents which we have seen,
Right.
that the old LTs who were there, local terrorists, were being tried to infiltrate. And that we have taken care of it.
Right. Okay.
Coming on to the hinterland. Hinterland, what has happened, the recruitment has come down a lot. So what they are doing is, they are trying to now send the FDs who are trying to revive this kind of a terrorism.
I see.
We are trying to keep a control on it, and the good synergy what we enjoy with the police, with the intelligences, which I will say is the best in the world today. And that is how we've been able to curb it to a great extent.
So you have that unified command structure still going.
We have a unified command structure, and the best part is that the frequency is very high, and we have a free and frank discussion.
Right.
And even frequent visits of the Home Minister, as Central Home Minister, he comes here and takes the stock.
Okay. And but one of the trends that I noticed, and again I may be wrong in this, but the degree of attacks or violence or killings are happening more in south of Pir Panjal, from maybe coming from the IB, coming from the line of control, or attacks are happening there. Is there a kind of shift of strategy from Pakistan side or from the foreign terrorists, as you call them?
For the last 10 years, Rajouri, Punch, Doda, Kishtwar,
Right.
all this area has seen a major development.
Right.
The prosperity has been there. People have been very happy to the extent that all the roads, the Mughal road, which is
Yes.
which goes via
The alternate route
yes,
to that,
yes,
right.
via Rajouri.
Right.
Now all these roads have seen a major traffic. The homestay was being encouraged, and there was a company which said that we'll take you to the forward areas also to see how things are.
Right.
So this peace and prosperity was something not palatable to Pakistan. And if you see the geographical location, what happens, which you rightly said, that besides LC, the national highway which is there, Doda Kishtwar border which is there with Himachal Pradesh,
Right.
all these places are from where the terrorists can move in. So therefore, the ecosystem which was there, they were trying to revive it. And what we have done here, if you see all the actions which have taken place, the neutralization of the FTs have been high.
Okay.
So that is something which has been there. And what we have done, we have carried out a reorganization. The Rashtriya Rifle which we had sent on the fencing,
Right.
basically we wanted to control on the infiltration.
Right.
We have reoriented towards the hinterland. And that has paid major dividends in last 4-5 months.
Right.
And as I talk to you, the operations are on today,
Uh-huh.
and there are 2 terrorists which are holed up.
Right. So, when you say foreign terrorists or the FTs, what nationalities are they? Have you made some kind of analysis on that, or they're just Afghans or some coming from somewhere else? Any details on that available?
At this point of time, it will be difficult to say whether they are Afghans or not. But 2-3 cases we have got to know that they were trained.
Right.
They were trained there.
In Afghanistan?
Yes,
I see.
they were trained who have been neutralized here.
Right.
But nationality as of now, we
That's
consider
difficult, yeah.
that it is
That's
the
difficult.
Western adversary only.
That's right. And when you say Pakistan, obviously is looking at the prosperity here in Jammu and Kashmir and all that, what is your assessment about Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as we call it, or POK as it is called in popular parlance? Is there a kind of unrest there, or your people must be keeping a watch? We get to hear some protests against Pakistan government and all that. What is the situation in POJ?
The situation is not encouraging. Gilgit, Baltistan, there are a lot of representations.
Right.
Because the way there is a neighboring country which has gone in for a kind of environmental degradation there in order to construct dams, etc. And whatever is being done there, the dividends are not being felt by the local population. Therefore, there's a major representation.
Right.
Coming on to the cost factor, as you are aware, that one of the videos that I was seeing,
Right.
that he was saying that we are getting 1200 rupees kg atta.
Okay.
And India, we are getting 40 rupees kg. Why should we go to India and buy that atta?
Right.
So that is the kind of a frustration which is there. Similarly, in the border areas, what we are seeing, that the administrative high-handedness which was there, that is being represented by the local population.
So they are resented. They're quite. When the resentment is very high, you would
Very
think.
high.
So see, this is the difference that they've always noticed in the development parameters of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory now, and what they face in the administration there. Is the support, you would say, eventually the people there will not support all these terrorist infrastructure or whatever. It's still controlled by the Pakistani army, I'm sure. But eventually people will also rise up against it. Would you think that way?
You're absolutely right. Now, how we have been able to ensure zero infiltration?
Right.
Zero infiltration can only be ensured once we have the information from where their launch pads are, where
Right.
camps are, and we are generally able to get some kind of information. That is how we are able to show. It means the local populace is not in that much of support what it used to be earlier.
Oh, I see. So, talking about launch pads and the numbers of terrorists or hold up in those launch pads or the camps there, what is the current figure or the latest figures that you have? I've seen some figures, but you would have a better, even if you don't have it offhand, some approximation can be really helpful.
If I can tell you, along the complete Western Front, we'll be having approximately 300 terrorists who would be waiting for induction.
I see.
And approximately 10 to 12 camps which are active as of now.
Right.
And rest all will be made active as per the requirement.
Whenever required.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second aspect is also there, that is not only the terrorist movement. What they are doing now, that with the help of drone,
Right.
they are dropping the drugs, they are dropping the equipment, they are warmax tools. Second thing is they are developing the drug culture.
Ah,
So drug becomes a mode of payment.
right.
And once that conduit starts working, the network starts working, then the same network will also be used for movement of warmax tools.
I see.
That is something which is a
Okay.
caution which we need to put in our mind.
So one final question on the Pakistan, the Western Front and Jammu and Kashmir. The armies world over, and the Indian Army in particular is now using technology more and more for all its operations wherever. Do you find that same trend amongst the terrorists also? Are the Pakistani Army personnel giving them training on using technology to evade detection or maybe use technology for other stuff when they carry out attacks? Something of that kind?
Yes, as far as the foreign terrorists are concerned, they are being given adequate training and then only they are being sent inside.
Right.
And the communication equipment which they have, that is of a very, I can say, very superior quality. And that is how they are able to communicate across.
Right.
And they have made the silos with the ecosystem. There are 3-4 people supporting, but they don't know who all are supporting each other. So that is the kind of a silo system they have been able to break out. That is why we say that it is the terrorist and the ecosystem both have to be addressed at the same time.
Right. So, in that sense, the challenge remains in a way for the Northern Command, but maybe the degree of challenge is a little lower than before. But you have to be vigilant all the time, I'm sure.
Yes, and this is the time when we are reaching out to them. Earlier, we used to wait for them. Now we are reaching out because the pressure is on, so they are going to the higher reaches.
Oh, so you're actually going into their
Yes.
territory or going on an offensive rather than waiting for them to come.
Yes, so it's a seek and destroy.
Right.
When you have seek and destroy, the degree of difficulty for the security forces will also be high.
So that is the thing. I think you've explained it very well. People must know that if the casualties on the security forces side is higher, it's because you are actually seeking them out and going there.
Yes. So it's a change of complete techniques, tactics, and procedures.
So instead of allowing them to come into on the fence or beyond the fence and then killing them, you are actually going out and doing this.
Not across the LC.
Not the LC,
but in the
but
hinterland.
hinterland, yeah.
Hinterland, because there are a lot of underdeveloped areas.
Right.
So those will not be a kind of a shelter for them anymore.
Oh, I see. So that's a big change of tactic, and that is why I suppose sometimes the worry about higher casualties among security forces.
Yes, that is something there, and the Indian Army leadership, as you are aware,
Right.
they always lead from front,
Exactly.
whether it's Kargil
Yes.
or Galwan.
Yes.
So that will continue.
That's right. Talking about Galwan, we'll talk about the China front, the northern front in much more detail. But I think we'll go and sit there now and then carry on with the Ladakh situation and also where are we as far as infrastructure development is concerned. So, General Dwivedi, let me come to the other issue that Northern Command handles, and that is, I think, now the primary issue, I'm sure, in your own operational philosophy also. The situation on the line of actual control with China, the Northern Frontier. If you can give me an assessment of where we are after nearly 3.5 years of the standoff starting with May 2020.
So firstly, we have to see how the situation today. Do we have additional deployment of troops? Yes. Do we have high alertness of troops? Yes, because we have the ISR very active. We have the, if I can say that, the patrolling is very active. Similarly, if we have to look at, is the command control setup active including AS/POS management? Yes. So if you see all these factors, what it shows that the situation is stable, but sensitive and not normal.
Not normal. Oh, that is important to understand for the people, the viewers and the countrymen, because in the public opinion, one of the things that always occupies their mind is China is the aggressor. India has halted them in their tracks for the last 3.5 years, but we don't know which way it will go. I want you to tell us that after say the first disengagement took place in February 2021, what has been the progress as far as getting the status quo ante is concerned, and how are we pressing for it?
Yeah, so firstly we have to see that out of the 7 friction issues which were there, 5 we have been able to resolve with persistence approach, if I can say that, from both the sides. And 2 issues are still balanced.
Right.
Now coming on to the...
And they are Depsang and Demchok, if I know correctly?
Yes, they are also included in that.
Right.
And when we have on the table, there are so many other issues also which we discuss, because we have to bring back to normal. What has happened? The trust has been broken. The protocols have been broken.
Right.
The agreements which have been there, they have not been adhered to. So therefore now there is a requirement to re-establish the trust.
Right.
We have to review the protocols and agreements. Do we need a new one? That's a question we need to ask now. Coming on to what all actions which we have taken to make sure that this kind of a agreement or the stability moves further ahead. As far as precondition is concerned, it's very clear that we want the disengagement first, then we will go for de-escalation.
Right.
And then the third stage we will be looking at a normal management of LAC, and then of course, like it's already there, Vijay Joshi also told you that the clarification of LAC and the demarcation.
Right.
So these are various stages what we are looking at. But over a period of time what we have done, that we have carried out the rebalancing 1.0 what we call, and reorientation of troops.
Right.
So in 2010 when General Joshi was the brigade commander, there were only 2 battalions.
Yes.
And today we have 2 divisions worth.
Right.
And it's only 2 divisions. There's so many force multipliers which have got built up there.
Right.
So keeping this in view, as of today, our force level is generally matching what enemy is having across, or the adversary is having across.
Right. So in fact, you spoke about 2010. In January 2010, when General Joshi was the brigade commander in Tangse, I had the opportunity to travel on the entire eastern Ladakh front for 10 days before attending the BPM, which used to take place in Chushul. It still takes place in Chushul, I'm sure. And right, like you rightly said, 2 battalions. From there we have come to 2 divisions and then force multipliers. But then to sustain these 2 divisions and force multipliers, you need to have infrastructure.
Yes.
And that infrastructure cannot be built overnight. So where are we as far as infrastructure progress is concerned?
That's a very pertinent question, because firstly we have to see that what are the organizations over a period of time which have come up to oversee this infrastructure development.
Right.
In March this year, Raksha Mantri called for a secretary, the ministers conference.
Right.
Even the NSA was there, and even the state heads of all the northern front border area states were there. There he took a review. Thereafter the cabinet secretary and other secretaries were made responsible to carry out review, and similar organizations were created at the level of states.
I see.
And where our chief of staff northern command is also the secretary of that committee. So since all these committees have come up, what has happened, it is easier for all the kind of stakeholders to collaborate. And to begin with, the infrastructure building, if you are looking at, we have now grown up to 61,000 in eastern Ladakh itself.
Right.
As far as civil sponsored roads are concerned, I will take your mind to Chushul Demchok road via Dungti Phukche.
Right.
That's on the southern side along the Indus River.
That's right.
Now this road is coming up in a big way, because in our case what is there, that we have the border villages, and since we have the villages, the civil infrastructure can come up at those places.
Right.
Similarly, there is a road as you cross Khardungla towards going to Glacier.
Sure.
There is a place called as Khalsar. From Khalsar you can go to Shok Valley, and this is called as Khalsar Agam Shok Road.
I see.
And this is also being given impetus by the civil administration.
So you have that Saserla pass also on that axis?
Yes, you are absolutely right. So as we go further towards the Siachen Glacier, halfway there is a point called as Sasoma.
Saserla.
From Sasoma we cross over to Shok Valley again.
Right.
That is from Nubra to Shok Valley.
Sure.
And you are absolutely right. Saserla is the place from which place we have Sase Brangsa. We have been able to kind of have the connectivity.
Right.
And from there we are going slightly northward to go to DBO directly via Gapshan. and slightly eastward, that is go to Burtse via Morgo.
Oh, so alternative accesses are coming up, roads are coming up.
Yes, yes.
In that sense.
Yes, and the DSDBO road, which is approximately 256 kilometer,
Right.
that is complete in all respects.
I see. So that is where I think the force multiplier has come as far as the land connectivity is concerned. Air connectivity is always, always there possible, but land connectivity is important. I remember coming to Leh in October 2020 on the third axis from Rohtang via Darcha, Padam, Nimu, and then coming to Leh. What has been the progress on that road now?
Yes. So before that, you talked about the air bridge also.
Right.
So let me tell you that as far as the Leh, Thois and Kargil airfields are concerned, they are being improved.
I see.
And the Neoma airfield is under construction. So that will definitely give us various options.
Right.
Coming on to the two arteries which we have or access, as far as Zojila access is concerned, the Zedmore tunnel is nearly ready.
Right.
And Zojila tunnel is, the progress is satisfactory, and as per the timelines which have been given out by the ministry, we will be able to meet the target.
Right.
Coming on to the Rohtang side or the Atal tunnel side, if I can say that, from place called as Darcha, there are two axes. One is going via Barlachla.
Right.
That of course during the winter season it becomes difficult to go
That's
through.
right.
Shinkunla, which is there, the contract process is on as of now.
Okay.
And once that tunnel comes up, we will be able to go to Padam,
Right.
remove all this area. And there also we are looking for a kind of again a direct connection
Right.
to Leh, and hopefully by next year we should be able to achieve that.
So
also.
which will again enhance your connectivity, logistics chain, everything will happen when these three separate access are available to you
Yes,
at different places.
that will be a big game changer for us.
Right, great to know that. I forgot to ask you in the previous thing when we spoke about friction points being resolved, 5 of them resolved, 2 are still remaining. So you've done 20 rounds of negotiations with the Chinese, and I think there must be a lot of takeaways from those negotiations, which we can talk about some other time. But is there also now percolation of those talks to a lower level on a regular basis, much more exchanges than what they would have been in say 2020 or 2021?
You're absolutely right. When I took over the command of this Northern Army Command, one thing which I said, there is no physical jostling which will take place.
Right.
And to overcome that, the rules of engagement were changed. And second thing what we have started, that earlier there was an embargo on talks at various levels.
Okay.
The first thing which I did was that talks must take place at the commanding officer level, brigade commander level, div commander level and corps commander level.
Right.
So what's happening, there are some localized issues which can be resolved at this UN commander level.
Okay.
Now that is helping us in a big way, because lower the level of resolution, it is easier to resolve those issues.
That's right, because they are constantly involved in it at the
Yes.
lower level.
Yes.
And physically involved.
Yes, and even the frequency of hotline messages has increased, because exchange of communication allows us to have a constructive engagement, and it addresses a mutual concern also.
Right. So you spoke about the resolution. We spoke about the first disengagement where you said both sides want things to happen. Has there been a softening of a stand from the Chinese side? What's your overall assessment about their intentions about this particular episode? I mean, it's been now 3.5 years. I can't call it an episode. It's an ongoing thing. But has there been any change in their attitude?
One thing we have to see as the Clausewitzian Trinity is concerned.
Right.
People, because of passion, are irrational.
Right.
The government will always be rational, and military will always be non-rational.
Right.
Therefore, when it comes to negotiations, you also take classes on that, you'll realize that we both have to have a win-win situation if we want the negotiations to move forward.
Right.
Therefore, we both are trying to reach a common point, and we are having a frank and candid discussion.
Right.
We are looking, mutual concerns are addressed,
Right.
and we are trying to provide the momentum from both the sides. But as we cut closer to the limited kind of areas of concern, you will find the areas are very critical in nature, and it takes time to kind of come to the negotiating table and look for the options which are mutually acceptable.
Right. On that one final point, I want that for again benefit of the people who have a lot of apprehension, they don't know what the geography is, what is happening. There is always constant, I would say, commentary and analysis on oh, India is in a disadvantageous position in Depsang, Demchok is also not at a very advantageous position. I want you as Northern Army Commander to tell people where are we as far as the situation is concerned. Are we on top of things? Are we in control? What is the situation there?
So, as a preamble to that, Raksha Mantri has given this statement in Parliament.
Right.
Even our External Affairs Minister has been explaining the same thing. Even General Joshi spoke about it. Recently, Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh, he said that I have gone to the forward areas and I can assure you not even an inch of ground has been taken. Now, what happens when the two forces are facing each other and it leads to a violence, then what is the way out?
Right.
The way out is to earmark some areas which are mutually agreed non-patrolling zones.
Sure.
So that wherever they were coming, they will not be coming. Where we were going, we will not be going.
Of course.
Because the aim is what? Basically, we are looking at peace and stability.
Sure.
We want to prevent violence. So, keeping these two factors
Right.
and give negotiations the time.
Right.
So, to gain time, this is the only way forward.
That's right. So I think you've clarified it very well that this is where we are slowly inching forward in getting the resolution done. But let me move away from there and come to the infrastructure on the other side. One of the concerns internationally, I would say, is that China has now built infrastructure where it didn't exist in Aksai Chin, for instance. And it looks like they're there for a permanent kind of deployment in Aksai Chin, some of these areas. What is your assessment on that, and what is our response to that? Two parts.
Yes. So, firstly, if we have to look at, China is looking at border area development in terms of making the local population settle down there,
Right.
in terms of enhancing the economy and kind of encouraging tourism.
Right.
Now, if you also see G219 is passing through that
Right.
area. So, what it means, these are some defined parameters which are there.
Sure.
But what overall it's developing, it is creating a comprehensive network of transportation system.
Sure.
Whether it's the aerial or it's train or the roads and bridges which is there. So, he is having a complete ecosystem which is being developed.
Right.
Coming on closer to the eastern Ladakh, G219,
Right.
which is there, as you are aware, that this 219 has become a kind of a lifeline. All the logistic echelons, the training areas and the movement and everything is taking place along with that.
Correct.
Now, the latest development which is taking place, that the laterals which are coming toward the westwards, that is toward the eastern Ladakh,
Eastern Ladakh, yeah.
there the construction is taking place a lot. The cross laterals are coming up. The water bodies, the number of bridges are coming up to cross those bodies, water bodies. As a result, the options to military maneuver mobilization which will enhance much more. And along the LAC, what they are also looking at, a road from the open media, what we see is G695.
The new alignment that they're doing, yeah.
So, this new line will give them additional flexibility to move troops.
Right.
And as you are aware, is there a local population in this area?
No.
We know there is a sparsely populated, barren area. So, it is well understood it is meant for what purpose.
Right. So, what is our response then? Because, we've talked about some roads coming up, we are also doing the enhancement of our airfields, whichever are available. But as a long-term response or say speedy induction of reinforcements, let me say, where are we on those terms after so 2020 and now? I just want to compare that.
Yes. So, basically any infrastructure has the aim of, basically it should be a force and resource enabler,
Right.
that we should be able to project it at the right time at the right point. So, in the border areas, the kind of off-work roads which we have developed, that is something we need to look into. The force multipliers in terms of vehicles which are required to kind of quickly mobilize, those have been moved where the roads and tracks may not be
Right.
existing. And all the roads which are there, the bridges have been strengthened,
Okay.
like DSDBO and other
Yes.
places. And as a result, the A vehicles, we have been able to move to all these places.
Okay.
Similarly, the air bridge which I can talk about,
Yes.
that air bridge, now we have the aeroplanes which are there from the C-17 etc. we
Yes.
are moving. The Air India chartered planes are also coming up to these areas.
Right.
Now we look at which are the agencies which are helping us out in this. Within the MOD itself, we have the BRO,
Right.
where the funding has increased to 5,000 crore from the last year 3,500 crore.
Yes.
It's a 43% increase which is there.
Correct.
Similarly, the OpWorks, the money has nearly doubled.
Right.
MES is now reaching out to further places. Similarly, MORTH,
Right.
they are giving lot of funding. The local government, I told you, CDFD road, and they
Yes.
are giving lot of
Right.
funding. Air Force is like looking at Neuma Airfield. So all these agencies which are there, ITBP roads which will be funded by MHA. So we have a common grip, and to kind of coordinate that, in command headquarters we have something called as Joint Infrastructure Cell.
Oh, that's
Now,
a
this
new
is-
thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this is being headed by Chief of Staff Northern Command,
Right.
where all these stakeholders come together, discuss,
Mm-hmm.
so that if a helipad is to be made, something has to be made, so there is no duplicity of effort.
Right.
And these are the things which are helping us. Also, the Gati Shakti portal which has come up.
Right.
Now, what happens? Let's say a road is required by civil administration, but that's not in the higher priority.
Right.
But the military also requires that road.
Yes.
Once both combine the
So
funds,
dual purpose
Yes.
roads. which
so
are there.
this is what is something helping us. And in our case, what has happened, since we have developed the road,
Right.
and now it is being improved by the civil administration. Why? Because it's for the dual purpose.
The dual purpose. No,
And
you're
same is the case with
absolutely
the
right.
helipads.
That's right.
Because forward area, now we are having this kind of a thing. Any medical evacuation required for the civilians and all that, we are always there.
Right. So in that case, the vibrant villages are also being introduced across the, I mean, near the LAC that is there. I think Ladakh will have also similar projects coming up.
Yes, yes. As you are aware, overall we are looking at 600 plus village.
Right.
And China is also looking at the Shiokong
Yeah,
kinds of
Shiokong,
village which
yes.
are there. So presently at the state level, LG is responsible. Our corps commander is in close touch with him.
Right.
At the district level, DCs are responsible for it, and our defense forces personnel are part of it. First of all, what MOD did, that Ops Sadbhavna SOP which was there,
Right.
now that has been amended.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can invest our funds,
Mhm.
we can infuse our funds for the Vibrant Village program also.
I see. Okay.
So that's a big game changer which is there, and we are party to all the development which is taking
Right.
place. The second issue what we have to understand, that we are the major users of so many resources in forward areas.
That's right.
Let's take example of National Electric Grid.
Yes.
Now this is something which is required for the villages,
Right.
but cost benefit analysis it may not come up.
Hmm.
So since military is the major user,
Right.
now it has been approved for Dorbok, it has been approved for Hanle, Neuma. So this is the kind of far reach is coming.
That's right.
Let's take the example of communication.
Hmm.
Now this is called as universal,
Yes.
this obligation, service obligation fund.
Right.
Now again military being the main user, about 150 BTS towers, mobile towers location which are identified, for 36 we already marked the land.
Oh.
So once these come in forward areas,
Right.
this will help in development of local economy, vibrant villages,
Right.
also the tourism.
Hmm.
So if you see these kind of things which are taking place,
Sure.
but that's not enough.
Hmm.
In the Combined Commanders Conference on
Right.
1st of April this year,
Mhm.
what Prime Minister told us,
Mhm.
that look, you have natural leadership
Right.
and you have the remote area connectivity.
Right.
And what I expect from you is to provide the vibrancy to those vibrant villages.
Okay. So you give them facilities, training, motivation, perhaps.
Yes, if I can say, I give them the soul.
Okay.
Because they have the soul,
Right.
but the soul is resting.
Hmm.
What I give them, the vibrance which is required.
Right.
Revival of their cultural traditions, their showcasing of their whatever activities they do,
Right.
telling them how to go about stay home facilities.
Sure.
Wherever there are issues, we provide them temporary restaurant training,
Right.
skill development,
Exactly.
repairs of various kinds,
Sure.
digitization. So all these things, since we already have all these facilities, we are able to provide them in a big way.
So which actually only enhances the mutual trust and I would say love between the army and the civilian population.
That is true. And our leaders, if I can say that, they take the ownership of that vibrant village.
Right.
They say everything will be provided.
Yes.
This helipad is yours. We are making a playing field, but this will be used by you.
Right.
These are the kind of things. Medical facilities.
Yes.
Hospital we are making, but we are saying please come. Even tourists when they come, please come. We look after you.
That's right. So one of the results, or I would say fallout, positive fallout of this standoff has been the increased synergy between the Air Force and the Army. And without like they say in the Army or in the strategic circles that amateurs speak about tactics, but professionals speak about logistics. How has the logistics improved, and what is the synergy between the Air Force and the Army?
I think in all over the world, we are the best examples in Northern Command.
Right.
And I keep telling the Western Air Command CNC
Right.
that look, you and me are not required. Because at every level, the coordination and decision making is so quick
Okay.
that we are only information addresses.
Right.
So since they understand each other problems, they are co-located, it becomes very easy to kind of synergize together.
Right.
And as a result, I can say that in logistics, Air Force has been a big game changer. General Joshi also told you
Yes.
that during the time of Snow Leopard,
correct.
the kind of movement of A vehicles, force multipliers,
Yes.
the core, strike core which had moved in,
Yes.
that was something phenomenal. And even today, if we look at the C-17, the other aircraft which are there, rotary wing aircraft,
Right.
rather we have gone to the extent the airdrop locations have increased.
Hmm.
Because when we initially went in, we had lot many air maintained posts.
Right.
Now some places we have been able to kind of make infrastructure development,
Right.
and we have been able to use ATVs and other places. But Air Force has found out new places where we were finding it difficult to even send that.
Sure.
So the rotary wing, they have started 3-4 places where they are dropping this.
I see.
Gapshan, that is next to DBO,
Yes.
again the airdrops have started. So that way, if I can say that it's a major improvement. And I must give an example that once we have some kind of a accident where 22 Jawans had got injured.
Right.
The Air Force with the complete trauma team had moved them at 4 o'clock in the evening.
I see.
Which technically speaking not the correct time for the Air Force.
Right.
And made sure all were brought back to Chandigarh.
Oh,
So
that's
they
wonderful.
take all kinds of risk along with us.
No, that's wonderful to know, because this actually would be watched by the adversary, I'm sure, all these things that are happening, and which sends a message of its own, I'm
Yes,
sure.
and same is the case with Chinook. Inter-valley transfer, the way they are carrying
Right.
out. And of course attack happens, you are well aware,
Sure.
they are operating along with us in any
Right.
case.
No, excellent. So in that respect, now finally I want to also know that under the Make in India Atmanirbharta initiative of the government, the Indian Army is inducting a lot of equipment from India-made Indian companies, all that. I'm sure Northern Command is one of the major users, or maybe the major user of all this equipment. I would certainly like to understand from you, what are you doing, and what are these platforms or systems that are using, that are being used by the Northern Command, are Atmanirbhar produced. So certainly I would like to know about that.
So to begin with, as far as the aerial platforms are concerned, you rightly said that in surveillance terms we have the UAVs coming down to drones
Right.
and mini drones also.
Okay.
Even logistic drones we have. Similarly, the foreign, like we said, long distance observation systems, optical system which we had,
Right.
now being replaced by the Indian system, which are much better.
Right.
So as far as the ISR is concerned, in a big way we are having it. As far as the weaponry is concerned, in terms of artillery, if I have to say that, yes, it's coming up. And all the new equipment has been put in Eastern Ladakh,
Right.
and we are using it effectively.
I see.
Similarly, the mines which are there,
Right.
and if I can say that so much of support equipment which is coming up, that is also coming up. And for mobilization, we have the QRF vehicles.
Uh-huh.
So two companies, major companies have got together, and they
Right.
have given us various variants.
Right.
So the EP, emergency procurement, Army Commander Special Financial Power, and there's a OCPP also, that's
Right.
from Capital and Revenue Combination.
Yes.
These 3 funds have really enabled us to kind of give impetus to the Atmanirbharta.
That's right.
And here, of course, we are providing the ecosystem for the trials, the forward area tours are taking place.
Of the industries and the MSMEs.
Yes. So they are coming here,
Right.
and they are discussing all these subjects with us. Not Symposium, which we conducted
That's
recently,
Yes.
and there approximately 150 companies came up, 50 startups came up.
Yes.
So that is the kind of a...
So there's a lot of dialogue between end user and the MSME ecosystem, or the Indian companies ecosystem.
Yes, and the enablers are the academia,
Right.
the DRDO, and of course the approvers who are there,
Right.
sitting in the army headquarters and the higher headquarters.
It's great to know, but wonderful insight into what's happening in Northern Command, and reassuring, I must say, about what the situation is in Eastern Ladakh. So thank you very much for your time.